Good day. Welcome back. Uh, we are here. We have just completed Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 7. In that we discuss loving God. Is the topic that I should give this is loving God. Loving Yah, loving Yahweh, loving Yahuwah, or however you're persuaded to say his name. But we know he is our creator, he that is, because he is. The Most High is. There is no beginning, no ending to him. He is just, he is. And he says to Moses many times, I am. I am he, I am your provider, I am your defense. So I am, he is. Yahweh is my persuasion. Okay, we're going to go to Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 12. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. We're reading from the King James Version. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Now, all of us know that the word holy is very important when it says holy. You know, the world and hypocrites would use the word very loosely. Those who are very serious about God don't joke about God. We don't make comedy about God, but we, or the Most High, or however you would be persuaded to say his name and refer to him. We look at the word holy as something that the Most High favors. So he's saying, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Holy in some instances means clean, reverenced, holy. 6 days. This is verse 9. 6 days. 6 days. 6 days. Remember that word 6. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. And we work from Sunday to Friday according to the Greek calendar and the Greek pronunciation. Or we work from the first day to the 6th day. The first day being Sunday. And some do, I won't fail to mention that some do view it in a different way, but I don't understand it, and I'm not in the position or want to be in the position to debate it. But from what I understand, Sunday is the first day, and Friday is the 6th day, according to this society and the calendar that we go by. And therefore it does coincide with the calendar of ancient Hebrew when they had ancient Israel when they had came out of the wilderness this time, because if you look at it, the time is also in accordance with the timetable of Egypt, because really the world's time today is based on Egyptian time. Other than China, Japan, some of them have their own days, their own times with with their years and all this other stuff and months after their beliefs. But he said that, but the 7th day, after we have established all this, what is the 7th day? If you establish it that it's Saturday or Friday at sundown to Saturday sundown, that's the 7th day. The new moons and all this other stuff, I really do not understand it. And it's not debatable, because you have to look at the common sense. I would adjure you to go ahead and study it in order to get a good understanding and not be confused. But the 7th day is the Sabbath. Regardless of how you see it, the 7th day is the Sabbath, or of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work. Now that is as simple as it can be. Israel was taken to their land. They were amongst each other. All the people there agreed to one law. One law. That was it. And that law was whatever the Lord commands, that we will do. So he said, thou shalt not do any work. He also gives what kind of things they can do. Basically, you have to eat. You have to feed your flock. You have to feed your children. And you have to feed yourself. Those things. Now, as far as cleaning and cooking and all those things, yeah, you cannot do those things. Thought I was going to say you can, but you cannot do those things according to what he says. But that's not the point of the do's and the don'ts. It seems to me the Most High was trying to establish something here. Let's keep going. Why does he not want his chosen, his children, to not work on the Sabbath day? Simply because in 6 days, I'm in the 10th verse, for in 6 days the Lord, or Yahweh, or Yahuwah, made heaven and earth, the sea and all them in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Now, if we go also to Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, it says that God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it. He set it apart. This is after he had made man. Before he gave man the commandment, he sanctified it. Sanctified means set apart. I mean, if you're going to get to any simple explanation or definition of sanctified, it's set apart. It ain't shouting. It's not jumping up and down and making your eyes go different ways and and all. No, 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 no. Sanctified means set apart. Set apart for what? There are people sanctified to evil. There's people sanctified to good. There's people sanctified to different things. Set apart. Now we're dealing with Old English. We're dealing with Old English versus ancient Hebrew language, which is really a far cry from what we think it is. Now, he sanctified it. This is really the pinnacle of this verse. He rested, he blessed it, he blessed and sanctified that day. Okay, he rested from all that he'd done. No, he wasn't in a hammock. The Most High was not in a hammock, neither was he laying in a bed. But however he had rested, he rested from all that he had done. Okay, he took a break. Exodus chapter 16:23, and he said unto them, this is that which the Lord has said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath. Now you got to remember, Israel coming out of the captivity, now they're in the wilderness. Now it's time to start dealing with them as far as what I desire, what pleases me, what pleases the Most High is what I'm saying, is what pleases the Most High. Why, what has the Most High really have hold dear to his heart? What things do he want his people to do dear and near to his heart? And this was the Sabbath. We're going through the law here. We're going through each excerpt of it, in a meticulous way, but not too meticulous. Okay? He said, tomorrow's the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that. This is his instructions. Bake that which ye will bake today. Now, this is after he had put the manna on the ground. He'd given them, seed that, quail, seed that ye will seed, and that which remaineth over lay up to be kept until the morning. Now he's saying, do all your work before this day. I have hallowed it, and I have sanctified it. Do all your work before this day. And what you cook, lay it up for the next day so that you might have something to eat. Oh, we got to eat cold food. Some people really didn't like that, but it wasn't about cold food. It was about honoring the Most High. Now we're going to go down to Exodus chapter 31, starting with verse 13. He also said, speak thou unto the children of Israel, saying, verily, my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign. Uh-oh, there's another one. What is the reason for the Sabbath? It is a sign between me and you, Israel, between the Most High and you, Israel, between he that is and you, Israel, throughout your generations. Why is this a sign? That ye may know I am. That ye may know I am Yahweh, Yahuwah, the Lord that does sanctify you. Now that day was set apart. Now that ye may know that I have set you apart. And in setting you apart, you are going to observe this day throughout all your generations. Let's go to verse 14. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore it is holy unto you. He didn't say it was holy unto the Greeks. He didn't say it was holy unto the Romans. He did not say it was holy unto the Hamites or the Africans or the Jebusites or the Canaanites or the Perizzites or the Hittites. No. He didn't say it was holy unto the Europeans or to the Ashkenazi. He didn't say it was holy unto the Russians, to the Germans. He said unto you, Israel. This day is clean. This day is blessed. This day is reverenced. And because this day is reverenced and is holy unto you, everyone that defileth shall surely be put to death. There was a death penalty attached to this. There was a death penalty attached to it. For whosoever doeth any work therein, there are parameters. They understood that parameter. That soul shall be cut off from among his people. And what? He gave the Levitical priests all authority in the law to carry it out. Okay, verse 16. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. This is an agreement. This is an agreement that I set aside this day. I set aside you. I set you apart from all nations. It just says that. Sometimes you have to really understand and read to yourself the word, the Most High's words. These come from the Most High. This is not coming from anybody, anybody's opinion or anything. This is coming from the Most High's mouth through the prophet Moses. And he said that, wherefore the children shall keep the Sabbath and observe the Sabbath while all generations for a perpetual, continual covenant. It doesn't break. Jesus didn't die for the Sabbath. No, I'm sorry. He's Lord of the Sabbath, is what he said. But that's another story as far as who really the Messiah was and what, and just the mystery of him, period. Nobody, very few really understand that. What is the mystery of the Messiah? How can he be man, and how can God say I'm in him and all this? It's a very big mystery. Many think because of this, it's made up. No, nothing in this Bible is truly made up. Only some of it is twisted. And some of it is misinterpreted by the linguist. Okay, now let's go on. Exodus 35. We've just finished Exodus 31, 13 to 15. Exodus 35, 2 and 3. He says, 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you an holy day. A holy day, a reverence day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. In other words, this is a Sabbath. This is all the Lord asked you to do. The simple thing of the law. The purest thing that you could ever do. It was not just for him, it was for you, Israel. You're going to rest. You're going to stay away from your labors. You're not going to cook. You're not going to clean. You're not going to go out there in your fields and harvest your corn or your wheat. You're not going to do any of those things, but you are going to rest. You see, even back in those days, they were farmers, and farmers' work really is never done. But he's saying, you're going to let that go. I'll take care of all the rest. I got that. You gonna rest. Everything up in heaven, everything on earth rested on that day. Heaven and earth rested. So who am I to say I cannot rest? Now, the children of Israel during captivity many times were persecuted trying to observe the Sabbath day. Many would observe it in secret. Many would pray, they would meditate, and they would, have fellowship or whatever on the Sabbath day and, just lounge around and before the Lord. But those things were not, they wanted, even in this society that we live in called America, Africa, also other countries. What are they going to do? Your employers want you to work on Sabbath day, but they would close their doors on Sunday because the Pope said so. He said, I am the life and earth Christ. I am here instead of God. Also, the reference that I have is called The Discoverers, written by Daniel Bornstein. Okay, Exodus 35, 2 and 3. 6 days shall work be done. 6 days. But on the seventh day there shall be to you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest. Whosoever doeth work, therein shall be put to death. And surely that came to pass. Verse 3. Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations. He's making it clear. Don't cook on these days. Don't gather no wood to cook. Don't do these things. Because I commanded you not to work. But do anybody listen? Some of them don't. Now, let's keep going. And in controversy, Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 24. And in controversy, they shall stand in judgment. They shall judge it according to my judgment, and they shall keep my laws and my statutes, and in all my assemblies. Now, in assembly means church. Assembly means the gathering of the people. Church means the gathering of the people. They are the same. You have no church. You might have a church on 4th Street or an assembly on 4th Street. You might have an assembly on 3rd Street. You might have a assembly way out in the woods, backwoods assembly or backwoods church. But my assembly, there is no ownership with God's people. He commanded the pastor, see that you do not lord over the flock. The people, you do not belong to your pastor. Your pastor is only there, the pastor is only there by command of God or the Most High to read to you, to ensure that you understand the Word of God. He would have maybe teachers and evangelists and people that will come under his pastorship in order to be consoled, in order to be, have a home base or something to where they operate. Now, Paul and the rest of them did not have that. They could go to Jerusalem where the other apostles were, but basically, they were basically on their own as far as man is concerned. Now, in Ezekiel chapter 44, he was just talking about the Levitical priesthood. Many of them were scattered. Much of Israel was scattered, and among the heathen who have come in and broke through and taken their land and all this, and it was, and eventually they broke them down, where many have adopted the ways of the heathen in order to survive, in order to cope in that society, just as many of us and our ancestors have done here in the United States and abroad. We've forsaken the Sabbath days. We've forsaken many of the ordinances of the Most High because we are in a captive land. We'll put it that way. We are in a captive land. We are in a land where the heathen, anything that breaks through and steals is of the devil. So heathen does come from, the actions of heathen does come from the enemy, even the Hasatans or Satans. Okay, but he promised that one day these Levitical priests will keep his statutes and his laws and assemblies and all his assemblies, and they shall hallow my Sabbath. One day that's going to happen. We're going to have a good time worshiping God on a Sabbath day, worshiping the Most High, worshiping He who is, He who has no beginning and no ending. We're going to have a very good time worshiping Him. It shall be our delight. Not just a commandment, not just like a child would do because a parent would tell him, don't do this and don't do that. But the child will see later on in the don'ts that really is for my good. Really, it pleases my dad, it pleases my mom that I should do things this way, and I'm going to do it. These are healthy children that would think such a way. At first, it's not so good, but it comes out to be very good. But for the rebellious soul that want their way regardless of what you do or say, these are the ones that go wayward, who have changed their image from that which what they were born. And then you got those who have sit up there and who kill, steal, and destroy, just like their father, the devil. Because if you are father and mother and your child is not after you and you're following the Most High, who is their father? The enemy, the Hasatans, the Satans. Okay, he said, and they shall hallow my Sabbath. We're going to move on down to Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 13, verses 15 through 18. And it reads, in those days I saw in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, figs, and all manner of burdens which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. You live in a captive society. Yes, some of you have to work. It's a burden. It's a burden because you have to feed your family. You have to, pay your bills. You have to stay housed. You still have to stay clothed. And the heathen don't care. Whether there is no color to what a heathen is. Now, you can't view that in that area. It depends on where you're at, who the heathen actually is. It depends on their position, who the heathen actually is. But the fact is that Nehemiah saw how that Judah had adopted so many, after coming out of captivity. I believe that was Persia. After they came out of captivity, what happened was that many of them had the ways of the heathen, wherein they sold, they did not reverence the Sabbath. Some of them did not even know, just like we to this day, we didn't know we didn't even know who we were. We didn't know we were Israelites, but we did not reverence the Sabbath. Many of us is raised up in Christianity, whose following is of the Pope. They follow Catholicism. And some deviate from that way, but they still follow it. And many of them don't believe they do, but they do. Okay. Now he says there dwelt, he said, and he testified against them in the day wherein they sold their victual, which was on the Sabbath. Verse 16, there dwelt men in Tyre also therein, that bought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath day unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Remember that Israel was already scattered. Israel was already gone to the four winds. Even many of them were right here in America, but that has been overlaid in many ways, very deceptive. Verse 17, then I contended with the nobles of Judah. Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 17, I contended with the nobles of Judah and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, verse 18, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet we bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. In other words, to put it plainly, he's saying today's words. He's saying now, many of you Israelites, you wonder why you suffer. Some of us are beaten by police. Some of us, we can't make ends meet. The head The head has become the tail, and the tail has become the head, according to the word of the Lord when he said in Deuteronomy chapter 28. He described what would happen if we fail to obey this law. And it's not so much about that law back then, but we're still breaking it today. Yes, the Christ has died. Yes, he was wounded for our transgressions, and he was bruised for our iniquity, Isaiah chapter 58. Yes, he was done that way, but when we continually, even collectively, when we continually break the covenant that our fathers have agreed with before the Most High, we still suffer. Generational curse? No, you just continue what your fathers have done. That's what we are doing today. Continuing what Israel have done back in the old days, even up to this day. And then we get we say just as they say, not exactly as they say. The Lord's way is not right. I don't see what's wrong with me having to break this. The Lord's way is not right. Why do I have to do what this do's and don'ts say? Why? Let's keep going. In Matthew chapter 12, 1 through 8, at that time Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were hungry and began to pluck the ears and eat. All right, he dealt with what they would call a legalistic people. Not so much that they really trust and believe the Most High, but he dealt with a legalistic people. In other words, even in this society, you have people that will do the things that legally they can judge you on, but you would never know they're doing them. It's called hypocrisy. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath day. And we have a little bit going. They do that which is not lawful on the Sabbath day. And what happens here? He said, but I say unto you in this place, he says, now, have you not read what David had done in verse 3? That he was hungered and that they were with him. Now he entered into the house of God and did eat the shewbread. He goes on and he says, but I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. If you had known what this means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would have not condemned the guiltless. The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath day. In other words, what he was saying is better to do good on the Sabbath than to do evil. If you're hungry, eat. If your food is on the stalk, pull it off and eat it. That's not work. They were setting up their own righteousness. And let us go on. And many today do the same thing. Acts chapter 15, verse 19 to 21. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble them not, according to the Gentiles, which are among the Gentiles, are turned to God, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornications and from things strangled and from blood. For Moses of old hath in every city of them that preach him being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. So what he's saying is that even back then, they will refer to the law. The law, yes, the law. They understood what happened on the cross, or what happened on the stake, or what happened during the time that the Messiah was put to death. They understood what happened, but in light of the law, they understood what parts of the law that still stands. He fulfilled some of the law, but all was not fulfilled. Now, let's go to the next verse. That was Acts 15, chapter 15, verses 19 to 21. And now we went on. Now we're going to Acts chapter 4, verse 2 through 6. For unto us the gospel was preached as well as Hebrews chapter 4. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 2 through 6. For unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we which have believed do enter into rest. There we go again. We which do believe do enter into Sabbath. As he said, I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my Sabbath, my rest. Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. What works was that? In 6 days, the Most High created the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day, he rested. If you look at the book of Revelation, you will find out every seventh chapter, there is rest. And then when you get to the last chapter, the 22nd or the 21st, you're going to see a final rest. All these were completed because he knew what was in man. He knew how men were. He knew from the time that Eve and Adam fell for whatever happened. Eve being the first to fall, then Adam. He understood what was going to happen. This is the Most High dealing with these people. This is the Most High dealing with you. He's letting you know that you don't know the seriousness of what's about to happen. And Satan is steadily filling your hearts up with foolishness. He's steady getting you used to lackadaisicalness. He's steady getting us used to entertainment. He's steady getting us used to not work, but play. He steady gets used to not struggle, but comfort. These works were finished from the foundations of the world. In verse 4, he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and God did rest the seventh day from all of his works. And he shall work in the end. He shall rest, and Israel shall rest. And the stranger shall rest that has joined himself unto Israel. They shall rest from all of their works. The works of what? The works of being here among men. Verse 5, and in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest, seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter in. Not all are going to enter in, but some must, because they've kept the commandment and the commandments of the Most High Yahweh, or however you would understand him. And they to whom it was first preached entered not in, verse 6. Entered not in because of unbelief. Now, unbelief, I can go so far into that, but faith without no man shall see God. Holiness without no man shall see God. You cannot be holy without faith. You cannot have faith unless it's given unto you by the Most High. You cannot become an Israelite or even a proselyte of Israel unless it's given to you by the Most High. Because he and he alone draws men unto himself. He that cometh, he will no wise cast out, because he draw them anyway. This concludes my study and our study, and I thank you for coming. And in our next one, we shall go to the thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal. We shall go to those and talk to them a little more in depth, but we pray that you go back over the scriptures that we've just discussed and understand the significance and the importance of obeying Yah's way. And I just want to say thank you and happy Sabbath.